Yeah. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah. Oh, I need that lights.
All right. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I am. Ready?
We're live.
Let's go online.
How can you ever be ready for this?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Boom.
Boom.
Hello.
Oh, we're actually live. Good day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another release party. We're celebrating Home Assistant 2022.5 already. Like, this is kind of wild because it just means that we're almost halfway all our releases this year.
That's crazy.
Holy moly. He's right.
So, yeah, let's quickly go around, like, introduce ourselves, just so for people who don't know who we are, or forgot again. That's also possible.
New.
I'm Paolo Schoutse. I'm the founder of Home Assistant. I do whatever comes on my plate, I guess. Frank?
Oh, hi, I'm Frank. Best known for release notes at this point, I think. At least today's one I wrote. Yeah, I run around the project everywhere I can. Mainly core, add-ons, releases. Yeah, those kind of things. Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm Pascal Vasily. I working mainly on supervisor and part, before in operating system.
Nice. I'm Zach. I do a lot of front end stuff. Do a lot of creator network partnership stuff. Just running around hardware. Very much like Frank, where I do a lot of different things.
Yeah, my name is Matthias, and I do mainly one thing, and that's I'm a user experience designer, so I design stuff. Mainly
Right.
pixels.
The pixels. That's cool.
We brought Matthias on today to take all the blame if everybody has any complaints. Or all the praises.
I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
That would even be better. Yeah.
Right.
Where's your suit mate?
No, and the reason for this is because we made some pretty significant changes in this release regarding to our configuration menu, which even the name has changed. It's now called Settings. And yeah, it's actually really, really slick. It's basically everything is split up. It's more logically organized. There's now a single place for things like network and stuff. And yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, sometimes you have to search a bit around for the new feeling, but
If you've been around a long time, then you probably need some time to get used to this. That's for sure. I'm going to be honest. Yes, it takes a bit of time.
But overall,
Yeah.
it feels like everything's where it kind of should be now, in my opinion. It's like, oh, I want to go to network. I want to see my network stuff. It's all in one place, right? Instead of being, maybe in supervisor if you run operating system, or maybe in general settings is where I think network was before. Everything's kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, I guess so.
Too. Yeah.
Should we, I mean,
We're talking about something people can't see. We realize that, right?
Yeah, we can.
Should we show it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to do it?
I got it.
I had 3 people I can. This is very well prepared, as you might notice, right?
The best part about it was that we actually got the community to.
Oh, this is even my dev instance. This is not even the final release.
Great work.
Do you have a release? Do you have one on the latest, like the actual release?
No, but I can like fake it.
Can you? Not in dev yet. I guess if you're on like dev.
Thank you for tuning in this quality video, by the way. Oh, what the?
Paulus, we have one sliver of your screen right now.
Yeah, I know. I put on the Devtools. I have to. Oh,
Well, in the meantime, maybe I can introduce something about why we also did this moving of some stuff in what we now call settings.
Oh, right. Let's start with that. It's settings now.
Yeah. So at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we did a user test. And in the user test, we gathered some feedback on our assumptions we had of our configuration menu. And we also already made some changes in, I think, the first release of this year. And so in this release 5 of this year, we made the next iteration on that. So if you're curious about the user test, you can find it on our design website, design.homeassistant.io. Yeah, over there.
And there'll be more in the future, most likely. So if you want to know about those, we'll probably post it on Twitter, Discord, newsletter, stuff like that.
Yep. And with all that gathered feedback and the conclusion we made this redesign or revamp of our configuration menu. And I also did one spoiler. Frank mentioned that. First off, we renamed configuration to settings. I think that's the most easy part to get used to. But yeah, we find that settings is more. That's the word that it's more appropriate for what you are doing in this part of Home Assistant. It's also maybe familiar from other kind of software. Settings is commonly used in all kind of software. So that's one of the reasons we renamed it. And so who's gonna show us around? Shall I talk us through, or is the?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest change that we did is that we kind of took a lot of there's a lot of settings that you hardly ever change. Your network settings, your analytics settings, these kind of stuff. So we, the stuff that you actually, like this, there's the configuring your home automation and then configuring your hub, as it say, like the system. And so the configuring your automations, adding integrations, adding people, dashboards, that stuff is super prominent. That is like right in there in the settings menu. And all that other stuff that you almost just never click on anyway, that's now all hidden in system. I think,
I wouldn't say it's hidden, but it's now in system.
Yeah. So yeah, shall I just click on system, Matthias?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So in system, there's an extra layer of a menu. We can walk them through. So first off, we've got general. General, as it say, are the most general things of your Home Assistant instance. For example, what's the name of your Home Assistant? What's the location of your home with the time zone and etc. Then we got updates. I don't think I need to explain what updates is. Logs, backups, analytics, network, and system.
Actually, Matthias, let me change to my other system that has,
Yeah, I like this one.
It's revolutionary.
Oh, okay. 1 second. I need to.
Are you going to do this live on stream, Paulus?
Yeah.
No.
Are you going to pull a Dr.
Can you click that little eyeball?
Oh, I got it, guys. What? I had my. I'm doing it in a different tab. Sorry, this is like the worst demo ever, huh?
No.
We've seen. No, that's not fair.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
This is Home Assistant Blue.
Cool. So system is all about your system. That's where we left. So for example, a lot of stuff previously was in supervisor, for example, and in everywhere we moved some stuff around, like we said before, and we grouped them to more logical menu items. Just should we click the first one and then I think that would be the best. So general, this is a lot of what you are going to see you already have or should or probably know before. So general is about what I just said about the name of your Home Assistant instance and your location, etc. Not the most exciting part of Home Assistant. Is something you probably do only once, and then I don't know how many times you look at this again, but maybe if you move to a different country or whatever. The next one is, if you can go back, yeah. So updates. We did in the early this year. We in the config we already had the updates card on top of the menu. Right now we have the updates panel, and this is where you can find all the updates, including the ignored updates. So in the last release, you can skip the updates, and right now we have the option to show those. So if you have an update that you skipped, go ahead, find that meatball menu icon. I like the word meatball icon. And then you can find them.
I guess you cannot read the beta.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yep. So also in that same menu, if you want to join the beta, you can find it over there. Or if you want to leave beta, it's also on the same spot.
But yeah, my system doesn't show it because I'm on a dev channel. This is another dev instance.
Yeah. So yeah.
Also, the no updates available has padding in the final release policy on a nightly version that doesn't have it yet.
Right.
Yeah. So next up, so that's also one of the things I think is an improvement. So previously you had in supervisor had logs, and in I already forgot what the name is.
Well, logs in the configuration.
Yeah, just
menu.
logs. Yeah, in configuration. Yeah. So right now you can find all the logs in one spot called logs. So
this is
really it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Also,
this is going to be for supervisor, for all your add-ons, for everything, all logs, one place.
Yep. Yeah. Really handy. Backups. So one nice little detail Zach built in. So sorry if you can go back. Is we had some discussion. What can we do in the description over here? So backups. I really like this little neat feature. Is when was your latest backup? So a small detail. I think it's a nice detail. So in backups, yeah, nothing has really been changed before. Only where you can find it. So all the backups you had before. Basically, this page hasn't changed much, right? Zach? I don't know.
No.
And so this is also now the same location backups for either if you're on the supervisor or if you're in core or container. It's all the same place to find the backups.
Yeah. Previously, you had supervisor or the main screen, and now it's just backups, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
About those descriptions here, which has data in it, like the last backup, I think that's genius. Like in beta, we didn't have descriptions first. I didn't like that personally. And finally, it was added, which made me really happy. And then I installed the version that had this, and I was just blown away. Like the little touches, I love that. Well done there, by the way.
Yeah, my favorite one is the storage, like being able to see like quickly, like 14% used, 92.6 gigabytes free there. It's like
that's the first one I noticed indeed.
Yeah.
Even
It's
without
really nice.
going in there, you just instantly can see it already. Like even if you're not here for that.
Yeah, I like that little touch.
The last backup, is that the last full backup or just?
It's just the last backup. I was actually thinking about that whenever Paulus clicked on it. And it showed him as his like SSH backup or something. Whether or not we should just show full backups or not.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Or the one that contained Home Assistant itself, probably.
Right,
maybe.
yeah. That one, yeah.
Full run there.
Next up is analytics. Same card we had before, only we gave it a dedicated position in the system because it's information that helps us build Home Assistant better. So if you haven't checked those switches on yet, you should really at least open the link below, how we process your data. We tell a bit more about what we do with your data. And in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why analytics is really great is that it helps us decide what we should improve or what we should be focusing on. And on the other hand, is also telling like big brands, hey, look, Home Assistant is rather big. We've got right now 152. Wow, that's a really lot. 152 active Home Assistant installations that has at least turned on analytics. So that helps us talk to those brands and
Yeah,
That definitely helps us convince people that like, hey, we're not some like open source project that just like has a couple of hobbyists like using this. Like, no, this is a lot more mainstream. Actually, a good example of how we use analytics is we were for the Home Assistant Yellow, we had some issues with sourcing our compute modules for. And so we finally got in touch with like Raspberry Pi, and we were like, well, listen up. If you look at like our breakdown of our board types, the majority of the people are using a Raspberry Pi. And then they were like, okay, yeah, this is important. This is the kind of audience of people tinkering at home, which, you know, how Raspberry Pi was aimed for educational purposes. So they were really eager to help us. So that was really great.
Yeah. They, after we showed them this and said 50% of 152,000 active that have actually clicked the buttons, you know, is Raspberry Pi. Because if you sum up all these percentages for Raspberry Pi, it's about 50, even more percentage. They really started taking us seriously, and you know, we were able to you know, start sourcing those a little bit more. So hopefully those get a little bit easier to get for us. Anyway.
So click that button, enable analytics.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And it's privacy by design. So
yeah, all of it's open source. What we do with the analytics, all of that's in there, how we process it. So it's, you know, you can see exactly what happens.
Yeah, the data that's being sent is documented.
Right. Yeah. Somebody's asking why was there a jump in the graph? We had a bug. Something wasn't counted, and so we fixed that bug. And then there was a small fake. It corrected itself. People asking why do I enable analytics? Well, you go to System and then you click on Analytics.
Should upgrade first.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Network.
yeah, network. So before we had general, the tab in general, which had some network settings. Now we pulled some stuff from supervisor, pulled stuff from that tab in general, and made it into some nice network page. So over here you can find everything that was before only grouped together.
And I just want to make a note about like the Home Assistant URL, because if you like the Home Assistant URL, especially the local network URL, is really important because that's how other devices can, when Home Assistant sends out URLs to serve content from Home Assistant to play on, for example, media players, it's very important that your local URL is set correctly. And so basically just keep it on default because it will just use your IP address and it will most likely just work. If you have, however, set up a SSL certificate configured inside Home Assistant, it means that your local network URL cannot be set like to a valid URL because unless you use an external DNS that matches your certificate. Because a lot of devices, let's say Google Cast, Sonos, they will refuse to stream from custom signed certificates. So this is where if you configure SSL inside Home Assistant as a certificate, you need to update your local network to like a valid address. What we actually recommend is to not use that feature, but instead use something like the Nginx add-on to sit in front of it and offer SSL if you're into that stuff. However, the easiest way, of course, is to use Home Assistant Cloud because that will also provide you SSL while you're away from home. but it will do so without making your local network inaccessible.
And it's end-to-end encryption, as it's secure.
So best to not touch those settings and keep them on automatic, definitely.
Yeah. So storage, we also already discussed the description. Right now, we only have 2 bars on this page. So I will expect some people say, well, why this whole page for just 2 single bars? Well, right now we set this page up for, in the future, we want to show more on this page. Right now, this information we already had in Supervisor, so we move it from there to this page. To be continued. One thing sorry, I forgot one thing on the top right in the meatball menu is if you want to move your data, you can do it over there.
I've never and will never ever hear it again be called the meatball.
Right, I'm smiling too, like meatball.
I've read it somewhere.
That's so funny.
The burger, I know. No, it's not a burger.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
The right name, I might be wrong because I'm not a UI expert, but it's the overflow menu, right?
overflow.
correct. Yeah, we use that. We use the overflow menu. Yeah.
Yeah, at least then I wrote it down correctly.
He's like, wait, did I miss? It's supposed to be meatball.
Yeah, what did I do wrong? I don't know.
That's funny.
Okay. Yeah, hardware. So same goes for hardware. We already created this page. I expect more on this page later on. Right now, you can find also this all hardware that was previously in the supervisor, a bit hidden. Right now, you can find it over here. So this is really useful if you have got, like, for example, a USB stick for Z-Wave or Zigbee, and you want to find out what's the path, that kind of things. And the most prominent things are in red. You can reboot your host or shut it down.
And generally, you don't ever need to reboot the host if you just want to restart Home Assistant, right? Like, this is a common misconception where people are like, well, restarts take so long. It's like, yeah, if you restart the whole host. If you go to the system menu, there's a restart button here, and it's only about restarting Home Assistant. Then that itself is super fast. Now, if you're wondering how fast, this is great. You can click on System Health, and if you scroll down, you can actually see the integration startup time. You can see your slowest integrations. This used to be on the About page, broken out. And so you can see what kind of things are slower, how long it takes to load. And I have actually no idea why my supervisor takes 20 seconds. So
it's probably because of waiting on something else. That's the downside of this thing. For example, your W that took long. It's probably one device is offline. Takes 10 seconds to time out.
Right. My Christmas tree.
You can disable devices, you know that, right?
No, I think so this is also WLED, right? This is
Yeah.
Bart, if you click on it, it will open the documentation.
Yeah. So, and if you go back to the system page, and if you do click on restart, it does check your config and make sure it's all good to go before actually restarting. And if it fails, say you have something wrong, it'll actually show you why it failed in a pop-up very similar to this one.
Yeah, that's
so
a
let's
common
talk
question,
a bit about that more. So previously on the server controls page or the tab, we got, if you are an advanced mode user, you turn it on your profile. There was some extra options for you. For example, check configuration or reload YAML, or the button on the top right, restart Home Assistant. So right now we only have the restart over here. That checks your configuration, like Zach just mentioned. So you can just press that button. But if you want to find those options you had before in the server controls, it's moved to the developer tools. So we add a small tip, and if you press on that, you go to the developer tools. So these are just the same as before. Small difference is that the restart button is in the top card. Make it a bit easier for a lot of people.
Yep. The check configuration button, which used to be a big blue button in the middle, is now moved over to the left. It is the same button, does the same thing. I've seen many questions about like, oh, this button is down here. It's the same button. It'll show you the errors. It's just not big and blue anymore.
Yep.
Our reloading is still as ugly as before. I know sometimes we get the question, why isn't there a single reload button? But the problem right now that we have with reloading is that it will actually remove everything from the state machine or like from Home Assistant, unload it, and then load it again. So if you, for example, have an input boolean that's being used in automation, then all of a sudden that automation can no longer function, or that automation will break because the input boolean is set to unavailable. And if you reload automations, of course, any active automation is going to be interrupted. So that is something that we still need to figure out if that's a way we can do it without breaking it. The biggest challenge is always unique IDs. So we don't know if there's no unique ID, we don't know if an automation is the same before and after the reload. So we don't know if we can see if it has changed and set it differently. So yeah, we still have the very long list of reloads.
Yeah. Most stuff is now in the UI anyway, right? Like that, if you add something like any of these via the UI, it's just instant. That's just, you don't need to reload for that.
No, I mean, I changed that channel manual, and then I know what I have to reload. And if I have to reload everything, then it takes a lot longer if I just can reload the scenes or whatever I have changed.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I often do actually is not even go here. Like I just press the C button on my keyboard and search for the thing that I want to reload, because that just works everywhere.
Right.
That's way faster than navigating to it.
C works on every page, right? You're on settings, you can hit C.
Yeah. And we can write that.
Yeah. I just I see a question that's related to the local URLs. When you have a valid certificate locally, will Google work locally instead of via the cloud? It will work via the cloud, because when Google Assistant through Home Assistant Cloud can, or also if you set it up manually, can talk locally to your Home Assistant device. However, it will do so by finding it by its IP address. So it will never ever use any of your internally configured URLs. So if you have set up an SSL certificate, the internal URL will never be valid for Google, so Google is not even going to try. So we don't even synchronize it over. So local Google does not work if you configure your SSL certificate inside Home Assistant. So yeah, I see actually I'm just going to continue. I see another question here. What is the statistics in Devtools? So if you have statistics, as I have, and the columns are a bit compact on this display, but
close your menu on the left. Make it a little bigger. It's better.
No.
Developer tools.
We'll keep that for future release. Well, but basically, any sensor that has a state class of either being total increasing or what is the other one? Measurement.
Total.
Oh yeah, we will actually every 5 minutes make a snapshot, see what was the lowest value that was achieved, the highest value, the average value, and then if it is a sum, like some cumulative sensors, like for example energy usage, we will keep track how much usage you had in those 5 minutes. Then every hour we will actually collapse those 5 minutes also into an hourly statistical point. Now, if you, for example, one place where these are being used is in the energy dashboard. So the energy dashboard will show you your usage by hour. And compared to the normal local database, we used that after 10 days. Now, statistics, hourly statistics, we will never ever throw away. So that's why also on the energy dashboard, you can actually go back like a year. You can be like, hey, how do I do this year? And as you can see, my statistics, this instance is broken. So I need to like tweak it, which is exactly why there's a statistics Devtools, because the statistics Devtools allows you to see sum-based usage, you can actually adjust it. So yeah, that's the statistics DevTools.
Yeah, and in case Home Assistant detects a problem that can be fixed, it will, now it says no issue on all items here in Paul's screen. But if one has an issue, detected an issue, it will show up and give you a choice on how Home Assistant could fix it. For example, I don't know, the unit of measurement changed between watt and kilowatt hours. Watt and kilowatt, sorry, not kilowatt hours, that's not the same thing. Then it will suggest, like, should I delete the history or just continue, or those kind of questions. Those are questions Home Assistant cannot automatically resolve, so it will ask you for help there.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else around the config menu?
We one left. System health.
Well, we went through system ad a little bit, but yeah.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Right. We have the core stats here and the supervisor stats. We realized we're actually going to add one more, which is like your system stats as a whole. Because right now, like the core stats is how much the core of Home Assistant takes and uses. The supervisor stats how much the supervisor of Home Assistant uses. But your system as a whole has overhead on running containers and there's other stuff as well. So you don't actually know how busy your system is. And especially if you start installing a lot of add-ons and this kind of stuff, it'll be nice. So that's something that we are gonna add.
There's no overview, indeed.
Yeah. So
Cool.
that's coming. Although maybe then we wouldn't call it system health. I don't know. Maybe whatever. We'll figure it out.
System metrics.
Yeah. Something. But yeah.
Yeah. So did we go over if you like the description on the hardware was also there? Showed that you had the Home Assistant Blue right on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
By the way, we can also talk later about like the Home Assistant Yellow.
I was gonna bring that up.
Oh yeah.
You have to set mine up.
Right. We have a few prototypes here laying on our desks, which is really cool. We'll talk about it later. All right. What's next?
We gotta put Frank on the stage to show everything he added, I think. Frank decided that I don't have anything that is like set to do. I'm gonna do what I've been wanting to do, what everybody's been wanting for years.
Something like that, really. Maybe. Yeah.
But Frank, before you continue, can you increase the height of your screen a little bit? So
the height of my screen. Yeah, I can. I think.
Of the shared tab.
Oh, actually, that works. Look at that.
There you go.
Right. There you go.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, so it's kind of true, right? Like there was a lot of the menu changes have been lots of work, right? Because the supervisor has been merged and all the APIs that are underneath it, and they need to be connected. And like the front end team was really like busy for a whole month to get this fixed. So I was like, I'm going to do something else, really. And then I actually made a lot of work for the front end team again because I didn't realize it needed front end work. So
you made
my apologies.
But you ended up doing it yourself. So
I did front end work. Yes, I'm proud of myself. Actually, this release. Yes,
it's good.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah.
I have the release notes open, so let's just use those then. What did we do? We talked about the menu, right?
A little bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. A little bit, yes. Well, I think it's beautiful. The settings.
I like it a lot. No, I
like it a lot.
Improvement.
Yeah. So one thing I just wanted to say about it is I like how everything is now like squashed together. I hated the fact that there was a separate supervisor menu. So well done there in that department. You didn't show that one. Should we do that now? Like switch back to your instance for a minute?
Yeah.
Like we added B. Draco added that, I believe. A little feature. We showed the quick bar, the E and the C, and now we have something on a dashboard. Can you show it, Paulus?
I can show it, yeah.
Yeah. So the just so I know, I've seen people say, "Oh, I didn't know about C or E." If you
Yeah.
are in your Home Assistant on your desktop and you just press the letter C or press the letter E, it will actually open up a modal or a dialog that will show you either your entities if you click E, or commands if you click C, which is a huge. If you ever want to reload something, navigate somewhere, it's super easy to use. So we Redraco was like, I'm on mobile, and on mobile it's a little bit harder. I think the iOS iPhone version has an option to do that, like 3 fingers pull down. But if you're on your dashboard, it's now a lot easier just to click the search icon.
Yeah. But the search icon, by the way, will be in the overflow menu or the meatball menu. I'm getting used to it. It will be in a meatball menu on your. Yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to call it meatball. So nevertheless, it's now in there if you're mobile. So you can reach it if you're mobile, which is kind of nice, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, we've added those the keyboard shortcuts C and E have been there for I think a year now, and a lot of people didn't realize it. So I think already the last release or 2 releases ago we actually added it to the settings menu, and it's also a tip on the bottom that is it's random, so I don't know how often it shows up.
It just really wants you to subscribe to the newsletter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you should.
Oh yeah. So here you can see it. Press C on any page to open the command dialog. So we've really been we realized that, we can, as part of our streamlining, we're adding all these cool features, but if people can't find it, then there's not it's not useful, right? I already saw in the comments that there were at least 2 or 3 people that were like, whoa, I can press C. So yes. And we even have this thing that if you press the search button here, there's the tip shows up here as well. So hey, you don't actually have to press this button. We got you.
Yeah, Thomas have right. So that's even older as a year, I guess.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes. Boom.
All right, that's the find entities, or sorry, find the entities quick. Kind of nice touch. And then we're in the big section. Another big section. Like the menu was a big change. This is a big section, right? This is just a lot, I guess. So I'll try to condense it a bit because we can literally fill out the whole stream with this, I guess. So what I did this release, I dove into the automations and scripts a bit. Like that's backhand work, and we could add some features that people wanted to add to the Home Assistant automations and scripts. So I went into the forms. We have a feature request section in there, and I started searching for automations and scripts and things people wanted and requested. But also searched for things people asked a lot. So I tried to find stuff that we could add and help you with. And one of the first things I came up with was the if-then, which is actually a pretty old request and actually tried before as well. I believe Thomas Leuven originally tried to implement it even back in the day. But in the end, we came up with choose. And choose is still there. Choose can do the if-then that we introduced this release. But people still look for if-then else constructs in their automations. If this, then that is very well known, right? So we added it just like that to make it easy to find for simple constructs, keeping it small and simple. And also, especially if you like doing automations and scripts in YAML, it will be extremely small. So this is what it looks like.
Interesting. I think when we decided on adding choose, we started with hey, I want to do if, and then somebody was like, okay, then I want to add else if, and then someone else was like, what about a second else if? And that's where you run into the limitations of YAML, because YAML doesn't allow a duplicate key. So then you had to we had to add lists, and then it became weird where calling it if. because it was not really fully if anymore, and that's why we ended up with choose.
Choose. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
You have also a default.
Yeah,
Yeah.
choose has a default indeed, which is actually the else, right?
right.
Yeah.
So we added an if else now, which is just that. You cannot do an else if you need that kind of stuff. Then if we would make that, it would be a choose again, right? So there's still choose. You can still do all that stuff. But if is here for a simple, clean syntax. And it also is a bit more compact in the automation editor. Yeah, it just has less options, right? If we look at the YAML example right here, it's pretty clean. If, and then a condition, and then is the action. And if you want an else, then that's optional. You can add it. And if you like shorthand templates, that is directly accepted by the if as well. So you can make it really short and simple if that's your the way you like to organize your YAML configuration, I guess. Yeah. If else. All right. Yeah, right.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones.
You want to
Mostly
talk
for
about
the
it?
potential.
Whenever we introduced the calendar integration has been kind of this ignored thing, right? Like we kind of added it and we never gave it a lot of love and thought about how it really should work, and so it kind of just pull requests at a time. We would expand the functionality, and it was never really somebody sat down hey, where should it go? What should be the long trajectory? Until I think a month or 2 months ago, Alan Porter, who is also he is responsible for the Nest integration, is what he works on, was he was actually integrating his Google Calendar, and he was this can be a lot better. And then the calendar integration had these weird offsets that you would put so that the entities, it was all kind of messy. So what happens now is that you can easily add a trigger on any calendar event on any of the calendars that you have added to Home Assistant. So let's say you have Google Calendar added and you add all your trash pickup days to that one calendar, have that calendar loaded into Home Assistant. You can now, for example, notify yourself in the morning if on that day it is trash day. And this is just brilliant. And this is actually only the beginning. So offsets are coming. So for example, you can say, don't warn me at the start of this event, but warn me 2 hours before this event starts. So yeah, it's going to be really nice.
There's also some people said why is this now a trigger? You could already do this, right, with a calendar entity.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it, but it was all complicated. And once we start adding those offsets, it will become really, really nice. And I think, in the end, a lot of things that we're adding, yes, you could have already done it with a template entity and or Python or other very advanced tools, or hey, I could already do this in Node-RED. It's yeah, but now you can do it in Home Assistant. You can do it through the UI, and it's straightforward to use.
It's almost like we streamlined it or something,
I've heard that term before. It seems like we're working on it.
It's crazy.
No, but I mean, this is really if you look at our goal this year is to get we want people to use the features in Home Assistant, and those features need to make sense. And so this is this definitely fits in.
I'm really looking forward to next release, because I know this trigger will have the offset already. That's already in dev. So you can actually say, as of next release, is there something on my agenda in the next hour or so, and then alert me already. Trigger on that fact, that's cool. That's not really easily doable right now. So I'm really looking forward to see that offset being added to this trigger for next release, actually.
Yeah, a few people need that for meetings they miss. Yeah.
Thomas Loven is asking, is this pretty much a scheduler people keep asking for? Yeah, I mean, you could add a calendar, have certain your schedule events, and then trigger on start and end, and then apply whatever you want to apply, or whatever actions.
Yeah, I could make a thermostat calendar, and then just drag and drop blocks, right, and then automate on that. kind of nice, like just making and repeat. Like if you have an agenda, it will repeat, right? Does it work?
Yeah, you can create a recurring event that works.
Right. What I really like about this trigger too, which is different to the other methods, is that when it triggers, it sends out all the data that belongs to that trigger. So if it triggers on an event in the calendar, there's an example here in YAML, it will actually send the summary and such of that event it triggered on in your calendar.
Yeah.
So you can send out messages. That's really helpful. All right. For each. So we had a way to repeat already in Home Assistant, repeat by like X times, or repeat until condition matched, or repeat while something didn't match, or those kind of loops, like keep doing things for a period of time. But we didn't have a way to loop over a list of items. And that was requested quite a bit, actually. And yeah, we built it. We made it. So you can now actually loop over a list of items. And that list of items can be like predefined, or it could be, I don't know, I saw a suggestion from someone today, like creating a template that gets the people that are currently at home and then send them a message or something, or announce them personally over TTS, those kinds of tricks. So that's pretty neat. This is a YAML. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, so we had, when we were adding repeat, this was actually one of the options initially suggested. However, back then, we didn't have parse template results.
Right.
So actually, then it had to it was parsing a string as JSON only in this one block, and it was all kind of madness. And so what's so cool now is that because templates can return lists and objects and all that stuff, you can do this kind of stuff.
And together with the new stop feature, can really doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Check things and stop if it doesn't match.
Yeah, we'll get there. We have a stop feature now too, that you could break, like indeed the loop, if you want to. This is a YAML only feature, by the way, because it's too complex for UI. Maybe we could add something in the future, but right now there's not really a good way to do these things. But this example shows a list with 2 languages and a message, and it sends out a message in a different language. So it says hello world in English and hallo wereld in Nederlands, which is Dutch, where I'm come from. Yeah. For each. Pretty cool. Now we get to an automation feature that's actually made for UI. Yeah. Yeah, right. That's kind of cool, right? It's not just people in the advanced use cases. It's also like little things in the UI that is annoying. And in this case, it's disabling a trigger, condition, and action. And if you're a YAML user, that's easy. You just comment out the block of code you don't want. And in Visual Studio Code, you can just have a quick key and you select a bunch and then it's gone. But if you're not a UI user, the only way to do that previously, like to get a trigger out of the way or a condition out of the way or skip an action, is to delete it. And then later you have to re-add it again, right? Which just sucks. So we added a little button. Thank you, Bram, for doing the UI. And this was too much for me. But yeah, you can now just disable a trigger and then it will no longer fire. Or you can disable a condition and it will just fall through it, pass. Or disable an action and it will skip it. It will show in UI it's disabled, and you can enable it again later if you want to. And even if you go into the traces, I believe it shows it skipped something. Kind of neat. This works in YAML too, of course. Maybe a little bit less needed, but it's a simple parameter enabled that sets to false if you don't want it. And that's it. Enabled, disabled. Really helpful for the UI, I think.
Well, one of the things that I also thought would be neat for is for blueprints. So you can have conditional actions or triggers or something in your blueprints and have like the user input enable, disable certain functionality.
Yep. That works.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. That's really good. You can skip parts of it.
I think that's like a really big feature too. Like just thinking about that, I was like, wait, like I've wanted to do that too. Like let's say you don't have part of the blueprint that you can't use it for. You can now just have the option to comment that out. It's nice.
Yep. It's I don't know, in UI it was just a miss. I think for testing is another way. Like if you have an automation and that condition doesn't match right now and you're wanted out of the way to test the rest, you can disable that one, right? Temporarily, just to fix something. Kind of helpful. Another one, continue on error. And this one is a bit special, I guess. It's a YAML only feature at this point. It allows you to continue in case an action has an error. For example, your TV is currently offline or not available and throws an error when you call a service on it. Then previously your script or your automation would stop if that happened. That raised quite a lot of questions on the forums from different places. We see quite a bit of issues raised as well on integrations like, hey, if the TV is offline and I call a service, the stuff just stops, which is not what I wanted. And that's actually intended functionality, so it's not a bug either. For this release, we added a little flag, continue on error. If an action fails for whatever reason, it will just continue with the rest of the script or your automation and just pass it. You can later find it in the trace that it failed, but it will still continue on running all your steps. So in this little example, there's a message sent via a very super unreliable message provider and one that just works the persistent notification locally. If the first one fails for whatever reason, it will still continue to the next. That's basically what this is. It does not continue if your automation is broken, by the way, if it's wrong. Like if you make like a broken automation that's not finished, like it's not valid YAML, for example, and those kind of things, and templates with errors, it will not skip those. It will just still break and give you a warning because it doesn't know what to do. But if the service fails or the action itself actually fails at runtime, then it will continue.
And the error is stored in the variables, so you can always check in the condition or something afterwards, or a new if else to
that
see.
Hasn't landed yet.
Oh, that hasn't landed.
That hasn't landed. It's not in this release.
So no, okay, never mind.
But for the next release, we should definitely look into a way to handle an error, like send out, I don't know, like add an ability to send out a notification if something happened without stopping, kind of deal. It's a good first step. I would love to see this in UI and somehow maybe later as well.
If you start the lighting in the aquarium or whatever and that fails, then you can maybe send a message out with if then. It would be great to have access to the error.
Yeah, that's a general feature as well, right? It's not just always continue an error, but sometimes you want to be notified on an error. I do have a concept for that, but I didn't add it to this release because I think I've already stuffed it enough, right? So maybe for a later release, but I think it would be great if you could send indeed an error or a message if something went wrong and you want to be notified about it. That's something we can do right now. That's a good idea. Actually, aquarium is a good example. This one is really small. Stopping a script or an automation. You can just have an action now that says stop, and it will stop. By itself, it's pretty useless, but if you combine it with an if statement that is new, for example, if someone is home, then stop the automation halfway and only execute part of it. And then this becomes pretty helpful. It's a really simple one. It logs the message you give it, the reason for stopping. Then you can also make it stop as an error if there's a temperature you didn't expect or something. So it's a little small feature that's added to make it easy and clean to stop script or automation execution midway.
I mean, all these things are so nice. I've heard a lot of people that have been able to just get like rid of so many of their existing YAML and just kind of like, oh, this is easy to stop. You don't have to outsource to Node-RED or to scripts or to other different hacks. Like, it's very neat.
Yeah, and probably if you look at your existing scripts and stuff that you have, you maybe don't need it in that many places, but it's just like something basic to have in the toolbox, I guess.
Yeah.
In YAML, this is really small as well, right? It's just stop and then the message and optional error. Right, this is a bigger one, a complex one, an advanced one.
So many changes, by the way. To I feel like, I mean, the amount of syntax we added, like in this release, is probably like 30% increase or 20% increase. It's like, it's big.
It's big, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's all really neat, right? It's just all like definitely gonna make everybody's life better. But it's big.
Here's a little question: can you also stop other scripts? Yes, that's already possible, but not with the stop action. You can call the script turn off service on that other script, and it will stop that script. So that's already possible. Nope. All right. Paralyzing actions. This is actually a feature request from Pascal, so I'm going to probably hand it over to him because, well,
I'm really happy, Frank, that you did it. You made my day or my week or my automation at home.
You're welcome.
The story behind this, I have a doorbell automation, and each time someone ring on the door, I can see a message pop up a bit later, the Sonos speak, and a way later the Nest Hub will show the video stream. And just asking why I cannot doing that all parallel. So just send the message out, send the stream to the Nest Hub, and speak to the Sonos. And yeah, it was just not possible. And now it's really easy possible to make a group of actions and just fire that and execute that all in parallel. But it have some advantages, but also some difficult. So variables and such that it's not possible to share. So it's be careful use, but if you use it, then it's really powerful.
Yeah, it's a really powerful feature with a lot of feats which you have to take into mind. So if you're not sure if you should use this, you probably should not. That's basically the golden rule here. It's exceptional to use, actually. So what it basically does, in case you do not know what paralyzing and stuff is, normal actions in Home Assistant are sequential. So each step is run in sequence. So if you do a service call to send a message to phone 1, it will send that message, and when that one is done, it will send the next one. So everything is like done in sequence. But in case of the messages and the doorbell, Pascal just said, it might be helpful just to send all those messages at the same time. And that's actually what paralyzing does. It takes all the actions and execute the whole block at once, all of them, next to each other, like as one.
You know what I realize now that we are not capable of doing yet? I kind of want to have like a dynamic one, like a for each parallel. In a repeat.
You cannot. No, that's not possible. No, that's not possible.
No.
We could add that to maybe. Yeah, I think that would be possible. Actually, now should be doable.
Right.
So yeah, parallel is really powerful. Can be really helpful with messaging, indeed. But there are many feats. They're extremely well documented. At least I tried to do my best to document all of them. Just like Pascal says, because they're all like together at once, like if one fails, the others are already started and will not stop. There's something else is that if one sets a variable, the other one might already pass that point or not. So variables are not shared across them. That's also a thing, but also things like, there was another one that I should mention, but I forgot. So that's really well, but they're documented. So definitely check the documentation out. If you need it.
this example only shows that each parallel action is an individual action, but actually each parallel action can be a whole script itself. So you can actually run 3 scripts in parallel or something like that.
Yeah. And one thing, if you have a parallel action and then you have another action below it, does the it doesn't wait for the parallel to end. It just goes to the next action, right?
Yes.
No.
Well, it waits for the whole parallel to complete.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it
all
does.
parallel tasks have to finish, and then it will continue to the next step.
Okay.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's a split. If you're used to Node-RED, it's like the split and join.
Okay.
The parallel is basically the split, and it will join in the next step.
That's
again.
cool. Okay. I was actually,
with-
this is probably better because otherwise it would be almost like parallel, where this is like parallel and then come back.
You can nest this, by the way, if you want to, which like parallel can contain another sequence to make it more like that's document 2. That's even more advanced. But yeah, it's pretty advanced, but the syntax is really slick and clean. It's just parallel. That's it.
Here's one question. Brand is asking, does Z-Wave needs to serialize the operations? Integrations themselves will always need to have locking around like doing the right way. So you could send all the commands at the same time if you don't care. And then for example, the Z-Wave integration will process it as soon as possible. Because the reason that every integration already needs internal locking is because 2 automations could have run at the same time and calling a service at the same time. So basically, if you should not hit any concurrency errors from integrations if you do run in parallel. If you do, you can always just open a bug report, because that's something that needs to be fixed internally then.
Yeah, everything in Home Assistant beside that one script or sequence that's running, everything else is already run in parallel, right? Yeah. So we're already used to that concept across our core code base. It's just new in automations and scripts. Right. This one is available in the UI, by the way, in a minimal form. The YAML feature is more extensive. You can do nesting and stuff. But basic, like sending multiple notifications at once, can be done via the UI.
Cool.
One is even more.
Yeah, a UI feature again. So this is something our YAML users are already familiar with. You can create one trigger for multiple entities, so you don't have to create multiple trigger blocks. That was something that you could do in YAML, but not in UI. Since we now have those awesome little selectors and stuff for blueprints to select multiple entities, we've added it to like the trigger in the UI from the front end too. So if you now create an automation trigger on a state, you can just add multiple states to that one trigger instead of having to create 3 triggers, which is like a huge list in an automation. It's now more compact.
I've used
nice little touch.
Already enough. It's really nice. Yeah.
Small little tweak. And if you have done this in YAML, you can now just open up that automation in the UI too, because the UI now understands what it is. This list doesn't end, mate. But wait, there's more. Somebody writes, yes, there's more indeed. Triggers on something that doesn't match. This is a really weird one. It's only available in YAML too. But you can actually change the from and to states in a state trigger to be not from or not to exclude something from a trigger, which is helpful in case of the example here is when this light is not from unavailable or an unknown state going to on, because that could indicate, for example, a network issue. So it won't trigger in that case, but it will trigger if it's from off to on in this case. That's written here. It's a little addition that can be really powerful. I've been using it for my alarm system, which has armed home, armed away, armed bypass. There are many states, and disarmed. And often I'm interested in, is it armed? So I said not to disarmed, and then, well, armed is left, right? So that makes it a little bit shorter. Pretty cool. But wait, there's more. Thomas Thomas,
in
are you
chat.
here?
He is.
He's in chat.
Or
Yeah, there's the man.
Or
Or so Thomas made joined into this like nice little feature spree, I guess, to add shorthand notations for logical conditions. And this is a pure YAML feature thing. If you're doing UI, you won't notice this at all, and has no use for you either. But if you're writing automations in YAML, you can now just use or, and not in a simple form. Instead of previous, it was condition, colon, or, and then conditions underneath again with the list. Pretty like explicit, and now it's really clean and slick. The old one still works. It's not a breaking change. It's just additional, a shorthand syntax.
yeah, this
Really
is going
cool
to up the YAML a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like YAML, you're gonna like this.
Yeah,
Good marketing pitch. If you like YAML, you're really gonna love this.
it's a lot easier to read and understand.
Yes, I agree. It's really slick and clean.
Boom.
I wanted to say we're done with the automation stuff, but that's not true because I moved some stuff into the other noteworthy section. But the big stuff, this is the big sum up of the automation and script features for this release. So I hope you like it. All right. A nice little contribution by Netzwerkfehler. I love your nickname, by the way.
What is that? Does that mean something?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's German for network failure.
Ah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
No, this is a very neat little touch. I think that, this is what people want, right? They want to have set up their gouge in a way that the data means something to them and not just they need to be able to visualize this, and this makes it easy to see what's going on.
Yeah. So this is currently just a YAML feature. It is pretty easy to set up. There may be a UI added later after we kind of figure out what we want it to look like. But we wanted to go ahead and get this feature kind of added because it's now just not just like red, yellow, green, and you're seeing red, yellow, green. You can make it any color that you want. Red, yellow, green, probably the most common, but you're not, you can make it hex values for the colors. You can make it red, white, blue, whatever.
Technicolor rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. Random value color rainbow, and then pick your that'll be your color for the day. How you pick out your clothes, I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is really nice.
Yeah.
So we have a big section on database optimization. And
Greco is crazy.
He's a madman when it comes to databases and
Yeah.
performance optimization. And even like the last releases, but this release again, he just keeps on knocking down on speed and performance and memory usage and database performance and database storage. And this release is again we're storing less data again, and we're doing less write operations, and we're even quicker in reading them.
Well, and this is going to continue, right? There's already a bunch of stuff
Yeah,
also for the next release.
release already again. Yeah, I saw. It's great, actually. It's not really graphical. It's also really weird to talk about maybe a bit, but yeah, it's quicker.
Yeah, better for SD cards, less writes.
Yes, definitely.
And not just less writes, also less reads. So the IOs are really better.
Right.
Yeah, less data on the line as well. Update entities. We introduced that one last release, which went pretty okay. We see slowly some more integrations adding those, so that's kind of nice. And in the beginning of the stream, when we went through the menus, we now added a possibility to show the skipped updates, which was asked for, like, how can I find these? Now, we now have the new menu with an update section, which can show the skipped updates. But also, if you click on an update, you can unskip them now. Like, this is a mistake kind of deal. But we also have a service call to unskip them. So you could make like an automation that automatically unskips your skipped updates every Friday or something to nag you again automatically, kind of idea. Pascal is muted, but I saw you talking, but I didn't hear anything. Yeah,
He's
no,
also very quiet.
Oh,
No, it's crisp filters out like all the stuff.
yeah, crisp.
Yeah, I need to get that for this mic, actually.
Test.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, there he is.
Chris moved the input to another microphone.
Oh, really cool little feature. Instion. There it is.
Wow.
Oh.
So, I mean, I feel like before we talk about why we've added an Instion control panel, we need to talk about Instion as was a company. So, halfway through the month, like mid-April, all of a sudden, everywhere on the internet, things were popping up like, oh, my Instion hub there has no cloud connectivity. And so, just to actually take a step back, Instion was a company that was like, I don't know, very old home automation protocol, a proprietary one that worked either over the power line and had a radio alternative. So it would try to find the most optimal way of talking.
It's extended.
And they sold hubs. It all worked local. And they had light switches. They had all that stuff. However, their hubs were controlled by an app. And that app talked only through the cloud with the hub in your own home. So now you can already guess kind of where this is going. Instion went bankrupt. They went bankrupt and they turned off their cloud. And so all of a sudden nobody could control their hubs anymore. You couldn't like remove timers, these kind of stuff. Your Google, Amazon, all that stuff it also no longer work because that also relies on the cloud. So a lot of Instion users were trying to look around like, hey, how can I solve this? And luckily, Tom Harris, which has been working on the Instion integration for a while now in Home Assistant, actually, the Instion built Instion integration, and we have support for controlling Instion hubs and modems locally. So you can either plug a modem into your Home Assistant Blue or your Raspberry Pi, or you can talk directly to the hub and then control your local network. So then at least, even though half of the stuff is broken and like doesn't really work anymore, you can still use it with Home Assistant. Now, in the Home Assistant, it used to only have services. So you can like do service calls, and it worked, but it was kind of confusing, poor user experience. So Tom was actually already working on a panel. And then when Instion shut down, he put some extra effort in it to really like wrap it up. And we got it into this release. So now you can easily configure your Instion devices, set up new associations, which is kind of like their automation thing where you say, hey, this switch is connected to this light bulb or something like this. So yeah, this now all works. And so yeah, if you're an Instion user, and this is only in the United States, by the way, then you're gonna love this new panel that will pop up in your UI. And this is actually like a trend that we see with panels being added. Like I know that for the next release we have another panel being added for another network that works locally. So this is really cool to see these kind of like configuration panels popping up. So yeah, great work, Tom, there.
Yeah, and you can read more about what happened either on the newsletter or on the blog post that's linked there, because a lot of work did go into kind of helping everyone out who's kind of affected by that. So make sure to read that. There's also buying guides in that blog post to kind of, if you want to get started on Home Assistant, what's available right now, with Raspberry Pi having issues with getting their boards. So a lot of good stuff in that blog post.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Frank, you want to scroll?
Well, do you want to tell, like, this is it, the panel?
Well, I mean, this is I don't have Insteon set up locally, so I cannot show it.
Okay. Right. But
No.
this is the panel. No,
This is the panel. Oh,
in screen. Yeah.
I
So
have
we
it
can-
on
We should
something.
call it Insteon settings and not configuration. Actually, I think we can just call it Insteon. But
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So, like Insteon for me, that's the old X10, right?
yeah, it is. It's
Yep.
using that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Used to have that too. Yeah. That's old school stuff.
Well, I hope it becomes
They've
like
been around for a very long time. They just, the weird thing is they also own smarthome.com. So they were actually, it was a web shop, and they were pushing Insteon stuff, of course, really hard.
but they then it had supplies, right?
Right. Well, at the end, I think the last year they didn't produce anything anymore, and everything was getting sold out.
Right. Right. Okay. Template selector. Right. So we now have the template editor from the Devtools. Most people probably know it from. Available throughout the UI. Can be used in blueprints, by custom cards if they want to. But we also have it available now in the automations and script editor in case you're are asked for a template, like the template condition, for example, here in the image. It can now continue typing, and then it will do syntax highlighting and auto completion and stuff. It's just a little touch that's really helpful.
The template editor has gotten so much love in the last few releases that, the syntax highlighting, but I think the autocomplete is really cool. It's just what you see in this screenshot is that Frank is typing an input, an entity ID of like an input boolean, and it shows all his input booleans. And the one he has active, he actually sees the state of it as well, right? So it's just really neat.
Crazy.
To
I think you also added this to the Markdown Card, I believe, right?
Yes.
So
the
that's
Markdown card, which
dashboard
accepts
card, yeah.
dashboard. Yeah, is it? Yeah. And in because I was like going wild on this, like I got the UI vibe a bit. I went into I made a contribution to Mushroom Cards. So the next release of Mushroom Cards will have it too if you like that stuff.
Right. Yeah, this is actually for the Markdown card. For people that are not familiar, the Markdown card, of course, renders Markdown, which is a format like capital letters, bold text, links, underscore, bullet list. However, it accepts templates. And when you pass in a template, it will actually send this to the backend of Home Assistant and subscribe to updates. So you can rely on the states of, like, for example, person entities in your Markdown, and it will re-render the Markdown as soon as something changes in Home Assistant. So you can you can make dynamic cards that instantly update when something happens in your Home Assistant instance, and it's really, really cool.
Yep. Really powerful stuff. Yeah, that's basically like all the bigger features. We're done. We're down the list. Finally. This was a crazy release, actually.
Crazy. This is almost like 1.5 hours, right? Of just like, these are the cool stuff that we decided to have.
We haven't even been able to talk about anything except for stuff in the release. Yeah. It's crazy.
Some small things. The scripts, or every script, like even from YAML, like without doing anything, or you create a new UI, now has a unique ID, so you can put them into areas and stuff. Kind of nice. Z-Wave, yes, I kind of like this one. If you run Z-Wave, yes, on Docker or something, I believe that works now. Like it's discovered automatically. That's a new feature, right, Paulus?
Yeah, the Z-Wave itself is discovered, not the not Z-Wave devices, right?
The server. So if you no longer have to run the server on the same, like, but when you run Home Assistant operating system, this is all done automatically, right? You install, the server is being installed as when you set up Z-Wave TS, but if you run container or core, there's some more manual work involved, and that's now less manual. So you could, for example, have a Raspberry Pi with a Z-Wave stick somewhere else in your house, and through Wi-Fi, Home Assistant can also connect to it and control it.
But the container need run on the host network, otherwise the Discovery will not work.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
Yes. We have a backup.create service now. Was requested a lot for people that run core container. to automate like backup creation, for example, weekly backups or something. There's now a service for that. You can create an automation to do that. That's kind of cool. Shelly supports authentication for second generation devices. So a
it's the
couple of
web,
requests for that.
all those Plus devices.
Right. So that's kind of nice. Thank you.
Favorites and Sonos.
Yeah.
That it's back. It used to be injected into the sources, which was really ugly, and we removed that because that was a hack, and so now it's back as a standalone entity so that people can add it to their templates, or you can use the service calls to cycle to the next favorite. But it's kind of weird. Like, you can only have 70 favorites for your whole Sonos system. Like, that's just
What?
yeah. it's like, okay, whatever. So yeah, but some people use it, I guess.
Right.
What is the advantage versus the media browser?
The media browser is not accessible from templates. So this is just for really people that want to, use, for example, they want to have a button, play my next favorite. So they will look up the current favorite that's selected, select the next one, and play that. And that's not, the media browser is asynchronous, and so that doesn't work inside templates. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
this is
feature
also-
that was there, right? So we took it away, and then, well, people build upon it already.
Yeah, the challenge that we have here is that you kind of want to allow integrations maybe to write to variables and then have that available in variables like later on. But we don't really have a way of doing that right now because everything is services have no return value, and that could be a way to solve this. But we also don't want to turn YAML into a full programming language because that's kind of wild. So
It made us tap this release. It's fine. No.
true.
Frank also added person attribute zones, which has been requested many, many times.
Yeah,
last release we added the counter to zones, right? Was that last release? Yeah, that was last release. So the zone has like a counter of how many people are in that zone. But then the question is, who is in that zone? That's the follow-up question, right?
Question that I don't know the answer to, so it's not leading into a yes. But can you use like that attribute in a for each?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, so you actually can. This requires templating, so the for each can actually accept a template. And I made sure the person group, well, the zone and the persons in that zone can be expanded, just like you can expand groups. And you can use that in a template to feed into the for each. So you could send everybody that is at home a message, or everybody that's at the supermarket a message or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Some new integrations. Oh,
See,
there's
space. Yeah. Can I?
I see it.
I just saw a question from somebody that leads into one of the new integrations. So, P. Wagner is asking, what is around like Sonos that is self-hosted?
Perfect.
And you're just leading Paulus right into like the best segue he's been wanting to
communicate this. No, so Marcel, who is, he used to help. He maintains the version 2 API of the Philips Hue. He used to be involved with C-Wave.js. His latest work is around like self-hosted music, multi-room audio, and having that like tightly integrated with Home Assistant and being able to control it and use it. And I don't want to spoil all his work because that's not my place to do so. Maybe we'll get him on the show next month. That'd be cool. But the one thing he added this month is the Slim Proto integration, and this is now Slim Proto players are the music players that were part of the Squeezebox ecosystem. Yeah, Frank is showing one. And these, I think this is this was a company that was acquired by Logitech. I think 2006 they were acquired or something, and in 2009 they were shut down. Like, this is really old school technology. but it's so old
Yes.
school that it's actually useful. So the APIs have all been reverse engineered, and basically it's a player that you can just send URLs to for like MP3s or streams, and it will play it so. And so with this slim proto player, so the Squeezebox ecosystem usually works with the Logitech media server, and then that media server controls all these players. But with this integration, Home Assistant starts controlling all these players. So, for example, and I have my screen share already open. So I have one of these devices right here, which is I have a because people have been implementing these players for various different chipsets, and of course there's a Raspberry Pi version. But the one that I'm really excited about is the one that runs on the ESP32, because that's the very cheap microcontrollers. Yeah, so Zach is already showing one. I actually have one here too. Somebody made a ESP32 with like speakers in it, and it's just the box, has a battery, and the cool thing is that it has, because it can play any URL, it has integration with our own media source and Home Assistant. So if I do text to speech, I do cloud. Well, yeah, Iris is fine. Let's see, demo, who knows? I'm gonna put my microphone.
Are you sure?
Hello, Paulus. You can play any
Wow.
text on any supported media player.
So this box now runs on a battery connected to Wi-Fi, and I can send anything from Home Assistant to it. So for me, I'm gonna use this probably still plugged in because the battery life is only 4 hours. But I'm gonna use this to send stuff to
TTS.
for my kids, so they can they have a small speaker instead of like a bigger speaker. It's actually really cool. So it's called Raspberry Audio Muse. I'm just gonna. We're not related to this company. This is just a company. They're making Raspberry Pi. They started with Raspberry Pi stuff. That's why they're called Raspberry Audio. But now they're also making stuff with ESP32. So they have this box, and then they actually have a small version that this green terminal here you can plug into any speaker. So basically you can make your own smart speaker. So this is really cool. And then this ESP Muse, it comes with standard firmware out of the box. And to make it easier to install that stuff, I made this small installer using ESP Web Tools, so you can easily install like SqueezeLite on it in such easy way that even non-experienced users can easily get this firmware running.
I got it running.
Yes.
I'm over here.
Anyway, this is just one of the first steps that we're doing to get into doing audio. And so I see some people asking like multi-room audio. So the proto players itself do not do coordination, but it is possible if the server that is controlling multiple players is supporting it. So this is something that can be added and might be added. I don't want to give too much of the roadmap that Marcel has put for himself away, but definitely keep an eye on this space, because we want to make it possible to, of course, to have local audio, because that's one of the things that I feel when you look at it's not easily available for many people. So if the work of Marcel can lead to this, it will be really awesome. So I hope so, and so we're working with him on making it as cool as possible.
Yeah, so this is what they call the hackable speaker, right? So
Yeah, that's the coolest part.
You notify me you're going to talk about this, and the stock is not that high. So I ordered actually just before we went onto stream. I want to play with that because it's an ESP, right? We can work and play with that. That's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to get it. I hope Friday it will arrive. And I noticed from the description you said the battery will go out. There's actually this standard 18650 kind of battery in there. And it's actually a low capacity battery, so you could replace it with a higher one. It's a hackable speaker, right?
Hackable, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So it actually also, just one last thing. It also has a web interface in case you're I want to have a web interface. but it already comes pre-configured with the installer. I will link that installer. I'll throw it somewhere, maybe in the description of this stream. So if you're like watching and you want I want to see this stuff, I want to have this stuff. You buy this product, you have the web installer. It adds as a media player to Home Assistant. You can actually also Bluetooth play to it or AirPlay to it, but I only use it from Home Assistant, of course, because that's the coolest platform there is. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. I like how I have this old Squeezebox stuff, right? I had this ecosystem back in the day, way before I started doing Home Assistant even. Like these have been in my attic for a long time. And now it's just, they can do like everything again. Like text to speech and everything, like video, audio and stuff, even without like running stuff in your home. It's just
I'll go shopping at some second-hand stores then. Hopefully find those speakers in there.
Yeah, they sound actually pretty well, actually, for the oldie.
They have I mean, if you just buy their ESP32 Proto box, they actually have like a video. It's like 3 minutes how to turn any speaker into a smart speaker, because it's like this board is battery powered and these two green terminals go to the speaker and that's it.
So you could like go to like a recycle store and buy one of those retro speakers. Maybe that's cool.
Well, that's what they did here, right? They bought a speaker, threw off the grill, they screwed in like a leather handle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
that's
it's
cool
cool stuff. I told them, I actually gave them a heads up, like, hey, we're gonna feature this. Like, please get more in stock, because their current stock was like 15 items in the US, 15 in Germany. Yeah, of course, because I was like, hey, I'm going to show this on the stream. I bet there's more people interested in this.
I know you liked it, but
It's cool. We want everybody to have it.
Yeah. So Ransom is asking, do they have audio output? So SqueezeLite ESP32 is actually open source software that runs on any ESP32 that has 4 megabytes of PS RAM. So you can make ones with output. I mean, I prefer to buy like products that are more ready assembled, but that Muse Proto board does have output. So you can connect it to things.
Does it have a microphone?
Yeah, it does have a microphone, but just a single microphone is not good enough for like voice assistant kind of stuff, right? Like it's not.
No, but you could measure like noise levels in a room, maybe to do like presence kind of stuff or additional to presence.
Right.
Kind of deal. Like it's hackable ESP stuff.
No, definitely. You can do noise check, that's for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that was just a quick the Slim Proto. But there will be more stuff about Slim Proto coming about this whole local audio. Marcel has a bunch more things in his queue, and so it'll be really cool. I might actually, I'll try to get him on the show next month. Marcel,
if you hear this, he's Dutch. You better bokje.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other stuff this release, maybe, I don't know, we have meter.
That's kind of a cool one. I actually want to buy one now. I know it's still cloud-based, but it's just a thermometer. If they want to know, what temperature my steak is, I'm probably okay with that. Like, but I think it would be cool. I do a lot of grilling, so.
Right, that's what it's for.
James, he once, I think, talked about some Bluetooth-based smart thermometer for your grilling that he could read out with ESP Home. Yeah. Because it's like BLE packages. So
Bluetooth is so hard because it's like, where do you put the Bluetooth hub in order to,
I mean, you just plug an ESP32 outside, like close to your grill.
Place an ESP32 in every room.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's the future.
Yeah. Would be nice.
It's a project which I was never finished, to connect my Weber meter via Bluetooth to ESP Home to get the data into Home Assistant. but it was just living on my desk forever now.
But that's one
I
of the
don't
things
like
that,
Bluetooth.
well, Bluetooth and Home Assistant, we talk about it a lot, but we never it's somewhere on our roadmap to
No,
make
but
that
it's not just Home Assistant. It's just Bluetooth in general. Like it's always
Yeah.
just like.
It's not, it's just not the best. Even it's just like Bluetooth in general. I have these Google Pixel Buds, whatever, that are Google's like top company in the world, right? And MacBook, who is another top company in the world for Apple, and the Bluetooth between them is shitty, and I am like right here.
I got these nice noise cancellation headphones from Sony, and look at this.
Yeah,
it's a wire.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so
it's HyperX ones back there. It's like,
it's always just, I don't know. It works most of the time. That's the problem with it, by the way. Most.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it only works when you really? It only doesn't work probably when you really need it.
Maybe.
Right. It's like the printer. If you tell the printer you really need it to work right now, it's definitely not going to work.
Out of ink, in paper, not receiving the message, not responding at all. Yeah. Similar. Some new integrations that move to the UI, always good to see. I like that actually. It means they're a lot easier to set up. And then there's a whole list here down below of breaking changes. And the one on top is the configuration menu. So if you're looking for something and you cannot find it, there's a list in here. Thank you, Zach. That tells you the most important stuff where it went.
Nice. Thank you for actually making this look good. I put it in there and I was like, man, this doesn't look great. I don't really know the Markdown to do this.
No, I'm just happy if you deliver content, and if it's needs to fit in, that's okay. But it saves a lot of work to not figure this out myself, right? You've been involved and it's easier. So thank you. All right. That's for me. Unless somebody else has something to list something, I would say that's the release.
No,
that's the release. Yeah, I think
that's the release.
We're adding it's becoming last release was huge, this release was huge, so I don't get your expectations up that the next release is again being this huge, right? I hope
it probably will be, just because that's usually what happens now, but
no.
Yeah, but we got you got to prepare stuff, right? A lot of things just don't take one release, it takes a couple of releases or months to build.
Oh, this is new, by the way, in the release notes. On the bottom of the breaking change section, there's links to developer blogs. So we now keep up or develop a blog. So if you're in custom integration author, or you have a custom integration that doesn't work anymore, or things like that, you're more interested in the development part, we have our developer blog. We keep it up with breaking changes or new features that are more under the hood, inside Home Assistant itself. We list the changes for developers here too, and link them to our developer blog in case you are interested in that.
I see a few questions I want to answer. Somebody's asking, do we add support? Are we planning on adding support for the Droid M1? This is a new Droid board that was announced by Hard Kernel as a kind of successor to the N2 Plus, I guess. We do not plan to support this at this point because it uses a hard rock chip. What is it, Pascal?
A rock chip, right?
Yeah, it uses a rock chip SoC, which does not have proper upstream kernel support. So it will require a lot of work and investment for us to make it work, and that is just not something we should do. That's something that either hard kernel or rock chip should do. So no M1 support.
And then is just good, right? It's works and it is really good. So
yeah, if you can get the N2 Plus, it's a great board right now that is available generally. Yeah. So.
And the M1 looks interesting though, but rock chip in general, rock chip does not have the best track record on getting Linux kernel support up to par. It's just their history is not good at that. So I would not
Yeah.
It's really hard work to maintain all the downstream patches and make updates. So that's not really fun.
Yeah.
The N2 is a better option at this point, definitely.
Right. I mean, every time we add support for a board, it needs to keep working. We haven't even Raspberry Pi 1 images are still being created, I think, right? Or do we disable that one? But like,
we don't list it, at least.
We don't list it, but I think they're still being built. But we keep support for things around for a long time. And so if a Rockchip SoC doesn't, if it keeps causing bugs, it's a lot of effort on our end. And like, why, right? Like, let people just buy a Raspberry Pi or an N2 Plus, which is great.
Yeah, I guess we decided with the Raspberry Pi 1 with OS 7 with OS 7 because it's a really old ARM version and it's so slow, so it's not really worth to use.
Here's another question that came in from Andre Cavaco. Text-to-speech stopped working for me because I have a SSL cert configured. If we've made some changes to how base URL works with text-to-speech, we're phasing out the base URL that you could configure under text-to-speech because we now have internal and external URL, and that is the preferred way of configuring it. So if you have an SSL certificate configured, update your internal URL to be your external domain with the valid SSL certificate.
So
cool.
If you got the newsletter today, there was some news announced in there, and it was news announced on Twitter and other platforms. I think 2 days ago, Paulus?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I thought maybe just to take a step back, if people are not aware, we have launched our own newsletter. Mainly Zach has launched it, but we launched a newsletter 3 months ago. So we have 3 editions right now.
Finally filled up the board.
Yeah, we finally filled up the pictures. And the newsletter will go out every month at the same day as the Home Assistant release to notify you of the latest Home Assistant release. It will highlight from the highlights, 1-2 features. Plus, it will also allow us as a place where we can kind of talk about other cool stuff that is happening around like home automation, privacy-focused home automation. We call this the open home. We talked about it during the State of the Open Home in last December. But it's basically, we're building out an ecosystem of projects and working with other manufacturers and volunteers and building products and projects everywhere that all work local, respect your privacy, and just don't have don't break when some cloud turns off. And so we talk about all these kind of project updates in the newsletter. If you haven't seen it yet, we link to the newsletter on the Home Assistant website. It is shown in the tip inside Home Assistant as well. It's called Building the Open Home. And so, basically that's our newsletter. There's no tracking. All the tracking is disabled. So we don't know if you get the email, if you open the email, or if you click on any links. Just once a month you get it.
Yeah. And if you want to sign up, if you go to homeassistant.io/newsletter, it will redirect you there. It's also on the homepage of Home Assistant. If you scroll down a little bit on the left. You have a little thing Frank made, I think. Nice. Yeah. So our latest edition. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't want to just open it and kind of scroll through it because that's already what we do with the release notes. Right. It kind of feels.
Well, it was mostly going to showcase. There's just one thing on there, and it's
if you haven't read it yet, you now can.
Well, there's 2 things. There's Z-Wave and then the annual plan.
No. Right. So actually, the Z-Wave one is really nice. I don't know. I mean, both are really nice. Well, we'll start with the Z-Wave. Last month, we announced that Dominique, the founder of Z-Wave.js, has joined Nabukasa, and he's working full-time on improving Z-Wave.js, which is the project that actually powers the Z-Wave integration in Home Assistant. And so one of the things that Dominique did in the last month is that he went through the Z-Wave certification requirements, and he listed all the work that needs to be done to get certified. And there's a few things that need to be left done in the driver. There are a few things that need to be fixed in the UI. The Z-Wave certification is kind of weird in that, like, it's not just the protocol that you need to speak, but it also has some user experience requirements. So this means that we will be able to certify Home Assistant Z-Wave GS together as a pair. So if you're interested in kind of tracking that, there's a public project that has all the different tasks on it that need to be done. Also, like pointing back to the specification, which page and section it can be found, what needs to be done. So yeah, this is exciting because getting Z-Wave certified is a big plan. It's a big milestone for Home Assistant, but also just for open source in general, as there are currently no open source Z-Wave platforms out there that are Z-Wave certified. So we really want to work on that. That's gonna the to-do list is not too big, but it's also not small, so don't expect like next release, but definitely a couple of releases out, and then we are going to be certified, I hope. So it also means we're going to join the Z-Wave Alliance probably, and all that other stuff. We've also, the Z-Wave GS was made for actually another home automation platform, and Home Assistant started using it. We are by far the biggest platform that's using it, but we really want to see as many home automation platforms actually adopting Z-Wave, because Z-Wave GS as like the communication layer, that's not your unique selling point of any home automation platform. So we really, hope as many integrators jump on board. So we also added a page for integrators just to be like, hey, please adopt Z-Wave GS and let's all work and collaborate on this single way of integrating Z-Wave devices, because it will make it better for everybody, right? This is the promise of open source. This is the way Linux works, etc. Yeah, that's on Z-Wave. The other thing, and this is also really cool, Nabucasa Home Assistant Cloud annual plans are now available worldwide, except for Canada, UK, and European Union. These are coming later. We're still working on the local currency support. We earlier announced annual plans for the US only. That's how we started. Now we have the worldwide, and so this is great. So it means that if you wanna, the annual plan saves compared to the monthly plan with 2 months, so you get 2 months for free. And it's a great way to support all the development that we're doing on Home Assistant and on ESP Home, and it helps pay. Sorry?
Z-Wave JS.
Z-Wave JS, yes. And the text-to-speech that I just showed on my speaker, that also came from Home Assistant Cloud, for example. So yeah, definitely sign up for Home Assistant Cloud. It's great, and you can do it now annually. So
yep.
Well,
unless you're in Canada, UK, or EU, but
yeah.
Definitely we're starting.
We're working on it.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to change your plan, you can go to the account page. Your account.nabucasa.com, or just go to nabucasa.com and click on login, and then you can change your plan.
You can also get there from your Home Assistant settings menu. If you go to Home Assistant Cloud and click Manage Plan or something like that, Manage Account, it's also there.
Yeah, it supports us to archive our vision for our open home.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Actually, I see here a question. Will Home Assistant support thread and matter? Great question. I'm actually gonna find a tweet that we just did last few days. We've been working on thread and matter support in Home Assistant. Whenever it became open source. So
there's 7.
Nice thing about the way Matter and Thread are developed is that Thread is fully open source reference implementation, and Matter is being developed as a reference implementation on top of it. And this means that you can whenever like more open source stuff is being publicly available, we've been trying it out and making sure that we can kind of get it into Home Assistant, and we've been making good progress. So basically, we have add-ons now for the Thread border router. We have an add-on for Matter, which sits on top of Thread. It's the software is still called Project Chip. I guess they don't, they don't want to like be caught off guard, and if marketing decides to do another renaming, so they still have the old name called Chip. So this is really cool. We have this first add-on which inside Home Assistant running as a container, we can actually control some of the lights on some of our Matter test boards that we're having. And the cool thing is that this will actually be software that can run also with Home Assistant Yellow. So Home Assistant Yellow has a chip in it that can do either Zigbee or Thread. I'm going to show your face. Oh, this is the wrong face.
That's the wrong face, but hi.
Yeah, so that's the module on the Yellow. And so we will be able to use that module to also talk Thread. Now, there is also work being done by Silicon Labs to allow this module to actually run both Zigbee and Thread at the same time. So we can speak Matter and Zigbee at the same time, but that is work in progress by Silicon Labs, so we cannot promise you that they will be able to get it to a production quality and release it so that we can use it. But we are using Silicon Labs chips, so when they do release it, we will be able to do both Zigbee and Matter at the same time. But
change it back.
So we are working on it. There is no Matter as of today in Home Assistant, but sorry. There's no Matter support in Home Assistant today, but then there's also no official Matter spec or Matter product. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it. We joined the CSA, the Connectivity Standard Alliance, which does both Zigbee and Matter. And so we're going to attend their member meeting in June in San Diego, for example. And so we're staying in the loop, and it will come, definitely.
Yep. Stefan's been working really hard on all this stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Yellow, I mean, we have prototypes, which is going well.
Prototypes.
Yeah, he's got the case on it right there.
That case looks really nice.
Yeah. The production is on these pilot went really well. There's work really well. I think Paulus put his CM4 in there and has it up and running. Stefan got his up and running, and I still have to do mine, but I'm gonna make a video for that. Possibly. So you can see the like logo tree there on it, which is nice.
Yeah. And then
I had to like change my camera to hold on.
Autofocus. Yeah, I've disabled autofocus.
Yeah,
I have
me
a
too.
Mac lens on it, so I have to keep it next to my head. I really like that the inside shape is, I don't know, very visible, but you can see that the inside shape is rounded while the outside shape is straight, which really gives a very cool effect with the transparency.
Yeah. So
And
if
then
you,
the other,
you go ahead.
the other thing, the bottom.
Turn around. There you go.
Well, yeah, so it has some cool text. The cool stuff is that we don't have a label on the box, but actually on the PCB, because the box is transparent. And then these are all thumb screws, so it's very easy to open it up in case you want to swap out, like add an SSD to it, upgrade your compute module, these kind of things. That's very easy to do. So you don't need any tools to actually like upgrade your Yellow, which is something that we really like hackable stuff. So
yeah, I was about to say that. We have the hackable speaker here, and then the hub is the hackable hub. For Home Assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, lots of stuff. You can learn more about it on the Crowd Supply page, but it's got a lot of features with the CM4 where you can change that out. If you get one of the kits, you can buy your own CM4, which are hard to get. So if you use Twitter, there's RPI or Locator that you can kind of subscribe to buy one of those. You can make it, as big as you want. I think they go up to 8 gigabytes, something like that. So, it's going to be really, really nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Do we?
There's somebody
Yeah.
talking about another thing we announced this like
Oh.
last week, Zach. That's the creator stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You want to say something about that?
Yeah, so we launched the Creator Network, Home Assistant Creator Network, which is basically going to be a group of creators that we're going to kind of work with in Discord, get monthly calls in with them. That comes with a lot of perks, a lot of opportunities for them, and it's really just a way for us to kind of give back. Home Assistant creators have been doing great work and getting information out to you all and to everyone who watches their channels. You can kind of see the ones that we kind of contacted first with this program. We wanted to get an initial group together and kind of get their thoughts on it. So we have everything smart home, Mark What Tech. We have the Home Assistant podcast guys, Juan M Tech, Bearded Tinker, and of course, everyone loves Dr. Z.
The one and only.
So we got got them together. We talked to them before this release and kind of went over the release notes just to make sure they understand, and if they understand and send out the information, then everyone else will understand to make sure it's all correct. It's all the latest stuff, and everyone knows what's going on. So we're hoping it's going to be a really good program, for these creators. So we released the applications a week ago now, I think, something like that. And we already have 80 responses. So we have a lot to go through. And I saw somebody tagged me on Twitter, mostly Chris tagged me on Twitter, which we did get your application, Chris. When are those going to be kind of gone through? And our goal is, with those 80, I have them kind of listed out, and I'm going to kind of go through them, make some notes, and then we will go through them next week.
We were very busy with the release.
Yeah.
Timing was maybe...
Every month's busy with the release.
We're always busy with the release. It always becomes bigger than expected, really.
Yeah.
The first week of the month is really stressful.
Yeah, it is. So what was really interesting, what I found really interesting, and we had like the first meeting about the release with the first group of creators we invited, right, to get like a feeling for it. What I really liked about that is that we now have like a platform from them to also like get quick access and feedback from the developers and us to help them. Like if they have a question about the video or something, you can just like reach out instantly directly.
Yeah.
It's just a way to give back, right?
Yeah. And we already made some changes based on feedback.
Yeah.
So, for example, the username that you're logged into Home Assistant Cloud is no longer shown on the settings menu, so that in the streams you don't have to blur that out anymore.
Yeah. Yep. We're also going to do something about the URL in the Home Assistant Cloud page, so their URL isn't leaked every time they make a video, or live streams are really the worst. About that, it's like whenever I'm live streaming and I need to go to the Home Assistant Cloud page to do something, I just leaked my my URL. It's behind password and stuff, but that's something you don't really want to leak. So being able to put that URL behind something, nobody really needs to see the URL. It's a lot of jumbled characters to make it nice, but we can do a lot about that.
Although Justin, Dr. Z's, even all these features will not prevent you showing your secrets file on stream.
Dr. Z's will find a way.
Just saying, it's just, he always does that. So no, that's not going to be fixed.
Yeah. So this, where you can kind of look at the Creators Network. It's under partner.homeassistant.io/creators. Kind of see what you need in order to apply. But we're going through. If you have a significant amount of followers and we find that your content is, based around Home Assistant, then we're definitely looking at, approving, and we'll contact you within the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. Well, that's it.
You're right. Do we have anything new, Paulus? Like you had the moose, right?
Well, I had the moose book, but not really. I mean, no. I mean, I've been building some stuff. I know I did it. I have my. I made a button block, and it's just ESP Home. It was actually. So I mean, I also made an emergency button. Like I bought like a literal emergency switch, attach it to an ESP, and then like it just it's in Home Assistant, so I add like music with it. I think this box I actually did some logic in ESP Home I've not heard done before. Like you press the button you're not supposed to press, then like it will be like, no, you have to press the light up one. But I mean, it's just fun to keep the kids entertained and to have a reason to use my 3D printer and these kind of stuff. Solder a bit. Yeah.
Kind of missed your 3D printing and soldering. That's not something I would have expected you to do like 2 years ago or something. So.
Oh no, definitely not. But it's like, I need to get like away from the computer, and then like, yeah, this is a good thing.
So you were thinking like a computer chip works too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Matthias got one of those Muse boxes too.
Yeah, very nice. I was checking out where the screws are. I think it's below some.
Yeah, I bet they're just below the feet. Huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I need to pull mine out and put it up. I have so many projects like that, and just not. I feel like I have so many projects like that. I end up doing none of them. I don't know why.
No, but that's you kind of need to like. The rule I used to do for a long time, I kind of failed lately, but like, don't buy something new until you have done playing with what you just bought before.
So those temperature sensors are actually up now.
No, okay, there's a story. But I need to like, I want to build this Bluetooth stack in Home Assistant first.
Right.
But yeah.
Frank, you got anything you're working on?
I got one of those today in the mail. Actually, I got myself one of those old LoRa gateways, LoRa one from the Things Network, and this is one of the original, the Things Network Backer Edition, original first run gateways on Kickstarter, I believe. It's pretty darn old, but it's still functional. I'm just interested in this one. I don't know. I believe, if I'm read it correctly by some people, if you replace the antenna with like a outside one, it could range to 10 kilometers or something.
Whoa.
But there's not much LoRa one here. Like there is a bit, but it's not working really well inside. So I got one of those like ESPs with LoRa one on it. To play with. I'm just interested in the technology. It's just one of those things that was on my list for so long. Like, I don't know. It is not really adopted very well, I guess, maybe. But it is an interesting technology.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to learn about it. That's maybe it.
Yeah, I feel like the Things Network, like LoRa one is cool because it has this range of like 10 kilometers. But the Things Network on top of it is actually the idea is that just, only one person every 10 kilometers needs, or like every 20 kilometers needs to set up one of these stations. And with the Things Network, you share your bandwidth with everybody that wants to use it. So the Netherlands has great coverage actually for like, I think all of Amsterdam is covered, all of Utrecht is covered. So you can just add these sensors to like your bike or to your boat or whatever. And then you only need to send signals when something is wrong, for example. Then you have very long battery life and just send out the data.
So you can buy like those but it's very much used in horticulture, like big land and farmers and such, because like distance outside. But you can use it for, I don't know, like a ground sensor or something that measures soil conductivity or moisture and such. Like if you buy one of those on LoRa, then you can put in like a single cell, like simple battery, and it will run 10 years on it and have a range of 5 kilometers. Like that's insane. It's very low powered, and it's
Have the device also such a big range, or just you route?
No, yes, they also have, because the modulation technology that's behind it is Chirp or something. That's really wide and really doesn't have much interference, and it's pretty interesting actually. So I find the technology interesting because it's so weird. Maybe that's the thing. And I just, one of the things on my list that I always wanted to do.
You gotta put it in your car?
Maybe. Like this one has GPS.
Oh.
So this is, I don't know. But now I also have one of those Bluetooth ODB2 kind of readout CAN bus things for the car. I'm not sure. Maybe I could read out. That's the idea a bit, but I'm not sure how far I can get. I'm mainly interested at this point in just like what is LoRa and what does LoRa, what does it do, and how does it work, and I don't know. Kind of weird.
Yeah,
just
cool.
play, right?
I got the device which you can. It was around $5. Then it was attached to this car bus, and I have a SIM card in, and
Oh, cool.
now it can access to this data. There was an idea to make a library for access to this data, but it was also my long list.
We all have those lists, right? No, I like this thing. I'm not sure if it ever sees daylight, but I put up the access point today actually, and I already got traffic. So that's kind of weird. Actually, I did not expect that to happen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So people are using it somewhere in the range.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. I saw a question here, somebody about like, can I use the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4 and still install an SSD M2? I'm assuming this is about Home Assistant Yellow, and that is possible. It will use if you have eMMC on your compute module, it will use that for the operating system itself, but all your data is stored on the SSD. And if you do not have a compute module with eMMC, then it will just only boot from the SSD and it will contain everything there. Then another, just in the Home Assistant Yellow, where somebody said, any update on Ember? Well, it's called Home Assistant Yellow now. And we sent out an updated timeline last month, and that updated timeline is still the current leading timeline. So I think we're sending out the first units in July, I think the plan is.
June for some of them, I think, maybe. I can't remember, actually.
Yeah.
I'd have to look back up. But there's a difference between the Home Assistant Yellow and the kits. So the Home Assistant Yellow is what needs the actual CM4 to be inside of it when we ship it. Those will be like July or later. And the kits we can ship out before then. We're going through the last phases right now to make sure we can do that.
Yeah. Cool. Should we wrap up, or? I mean, we did. It's a bit longer than normal.
Anything else? Anybody else got anything going on?
No, I have another crowdfunding thing I came in, but I haven't played with it yet, so I'm not going to show it until I do.
Is that the thing that came in like a few weeks ago? Is that one?
No, this is, look, it's still even, like, you can't even see it from the...
That would be...
It's just LEDs. Just more LEDs, because I don't have enough LEDs in my house.
I think the next big thing I have going on would be 2022.6.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff. I have no idea what it is. Yeah.
I don't know.
Lots of good stuff. I just know it's always that.
It's going to be a huge release.
Probably. I mean, at this point in time.
Right.
I'm not going to do automations anymore for the upcoming release, I promise. Like,
no.
He says I promise. He doesn't mean that.
And that's true. I got one pending, but nevertheless.
Yeah. But this release means also the first half year is over then.
Yep. Yes.
Well, not really. Technically, we don't do a January release, but we do the December release. So
we will be doing a January release
next year. Yes,
that's
definitely. True. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Because holy,
we just
February release. Anybody remember that? Is everybody drinking that one away?
Yeah,
I do. All right.
Cool. I suggest we wrap up. So
yeah,
if you
haven't done yet, subscribe.
Oh yeah,
that's something you have to say, right?
Yeah, like subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Retweet, share the log,
and join the chat.
Subscribe to the newsletter.
Oh yeah, subscribe to the newsletter and
join Discord.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and join the beta, by the way. That's cool.
Via the new system and then updates page.
In the overflow menu.
In the overflow menu.
near the meatball there in the corner.
Yeah.
And enable
If you're hungry, it's meatballs, else it's overflow. Maybe that's what Matthias is like. He's like kind of hungry.
No, but for real, like joining the beta is actually pretty fun because you get to test extra, like the new features first, right? And it's really helpful to get this release stable.
Yep.
And it's pretty easy to like go back from it in case you have a real issue. Like we have backups now and such. It would be really cool if you like doing that stuff a bit, like the week before the release, so the last Wednesday of the month. Join our Discord. There's a beta channel there. We'll open up that Wednesday.
Definitely.
And we'll do a long week of beta. And the chat is really fun to be in there. It's really interactive, and we are on top of stuff. It would be really cool if you joined for next release.
Definitely recommend the Discord if you're going to do that. That way you can see what's going on. What other, beta is for finding issues before the production release, so you can kind of see what everybody's seeing. You can report your own issues there, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah, valuable feedback.
Yes, valuable feedback indeed.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. Enjoy the release.
Cheers.
See you next month.